Hello out there. My name is Laolu Akonde, and you are on to Inside Sources. But first, here is my take for today entitled PDP Crisis, One Party State and Other Political Stories. The Federal High Court ruling in Ibadan, which dismantled the PDP's newly constituted NEC, NWC, and its national leadership that were elected at its Ibadan convention, has again underscored the party's prolonged internal decay. Not that the ruling party, that is the APC, is spectacularly better than PDP, but the APC's hold on to power is their own saving grace. That forces the members of APC to behave themselves and follow the dictates of the Jagaban of Nigerian politics, Mr. President himself. Let me give you two recent examples on that point about APC, and then I'll come back to PDP. Number one, who didn't know how the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, imposed Governor Caleb Mutfwang on the APC national chairman and Senator Lalong and other APC leaders in Plateau State, who had said they didn't want Mutfwang in their party. They rejected Mutfwang, but the president compelled them to have him. Do you think that Lalong, Netanwe, the party chairman, and others in Plateau would have played the obedient men to the president if he weren't the sitting president? The second point, in Kano, when Governor Haba Yusuf was making his way to defect from his angry godfather and NNPP, his godfather being Dr. Kwakwanso, the APC leaders in Kano, including the party chairman and former Governor Ganduje, they made it clear that President Tinubu directed them not only to welcome Yusuf to the ruling party, but to affirm that Yusuf is the leader of the party in Kano, leader of APC. If the Jagaban was not the president, do you think Ganduje and the other guys in Kano would agree with that? Now, this is the bonus point. It is only the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, who have created a perception of some resistance to that overpowering influence of the Jagaban. So, Wike wants to be seen as a leader of the renewed hope agenda family in Rivers State, as he now calls it. But APC leaders and even Daniel Bwala, one of the presidential spokespersons, are saying that all they know and care for in Rivers is the leadership of Governor Sim Fubara as the APC leader. So, Wike is the exception to that rule of having the president overbearing influence in the system. But Wike himself has beaten himself and the president into a corner because of the fallout of his own disagreement with his own godson. The question now is this: what is President Tinubu going to do about Wike? Clearly, Wike's support of the president towards 2027 is looking like so expensive it might cost the president an arm and a leg. But guess what? We'll find out. So let's come back to PDP. Not only is the PDP looking like a sinking ship, just like the president said, but the hopelessness of its opposing gladiators in their disgraceful effort to outwit themselves is the strongest proof that there are many among Nigeria's political elites who are blinded, lacking in vision, and ultimately of no social value to the Nigerian project. That's just the stark truth. It is our best alert, that is what is happening in PDP, it's our best alert signal that we can't leave politics to politicians alone. Now, in Nigeria's contemporary political history, the PDP is not the first party to be in opposition, but it is clearly the party that has produced the least number of courageous members, as we have seen already. And that is why we must pause today to commend the 7 governors in Nigeria who have found courage to remain in their parties. We must commend them as a means of encouragement. 4 of them in PDP, 1 in APGA, 1 in Labour, and one in their core party. We must especially commend those remaining 4 PDP governors. Let's mention their names. Bala Muhammad of Bauchi, Dauda Lawal of Zamfara, Amadu Fintiri of Adamawa, and of course, Sheyi Makinde of Oyo State. We must commend them. And here is the point. It is to their resilience, these 4 governors, that we in part owe the sustenance of multi-party democracy in Nigeria too. We should encourage them to stand firm so that we can strengthen opposition politics in Nigeria. We need that in a democracy. And so when we had Abgas Charles Soludo of Anambra, Labour Party's Alex Oti of Abia, and of course, Accord Party's Ademola Adeleke in Osun State, then we can say that we are right to believe and to aspire and say that Nigeria can never and will never be reduced to a one-party state. Those are the kinds of folks that give hope to that belief. Not when you also have the fledgling ADC, the party, opposition party now working very hard to tell us at least what their platform is about, what their principles are in the building of their manifesto. And so when people like Rotimi Amechi come together with his unwavering courage, which you must give Amechi, and people like Atiku Abubakar with his unrelenting ambition, which is clear, and people like Peter Obi with his 2023 presidential post stunt, which you cannot deny. When people like that come together, Nigeria is not ready for a one-party state. Let's know that, and let's calm down. Party supremacy, party organization, and party discipline may be at an all-time low in Nigeria today, but it is not entirely dead. The parties are not entirely dead. But don't forget, we cannot afford to leave politics only in the hands of politicians. That is how we can enforce public interest and how we can curb the personal and selfish agendas of our political elite. And that's what we got to do. Make sure that politics is not left to politicians. And there you have it. Inside Sources, we go full blast right after this. And we're going to be having 2 segments. One, looking at what is happening in America and Nigeria regarding next year's election, and also a conclusion of our conversation on the northern dynamic in Nigeria's politics. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, we are leading the show with an important conversation on what might be a potential influence of the Americans on Nigeria's 2027 election, reminiscent of what President Goodluck Jonathan said happened in 2015. To join me in that important conversation, here in the studio, I have Mr. Ismail Omipidon, who is the deputy editor for Sun newspapers covering politics and also a public affairs analyst. Mr. Omipidon, my brother, good to see you again on Inside Sources and Happy New Year.
The pleasure is mine. I wish you the same.
All right, thank you. And all the way from New York, joining us virtually, we have a professor of political science and women's studies at the Brooklyn College of the City University of New York, Professor Mujiba Olufunke Okome. Prof, Happy New Year and welcome to Inside Sources.
Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
All right. Also, virtually, we have from the University of Lagos, Dr. Abimbola Oyarinu, an international relations expert and a researcher with the Institute of African and Diaspora Affairs at the University of Lagos. Dr. Oyarinu, you are welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So I want to start with Professor Okome. Now, in 2015, based on the reporting of President Goodluck Jonathan in his book, My Transition Hours, he detailed what he considered to be the overriding influence of President Barack Obama, then US President, and then Secretary of State John Kerry, the role they played in his defeat. He said in that book that President Obama actually released a video message directly to Nigerians, essentially telling them who to vote for in his own recollection. He also said that John Kerry was overly critical of some of the decisions of his administration, including the fact that the 2015 election presidential poll had to be postponed. He noted the fact that John Kerry's criticism was like an overreach, and that all of these things put together influenced his defeat in that election. Now, this year, we are hearing bosses both in Abuja and in Washington, D.C., that a repeat of this might happen. Now, you are a professor of political science. I want you to tell us, how do you interpret those developments?
Well, thank you very much. You know, U.S. intervention in the politics of global South countries is not a new factor. So if you look at the relationship between the U.S. and its neighbors in the Western Hemisphere, Latin American countries and Caribbean countries, you will see significant instances historically of intervention. As a matter of fact, you know, I think this is what superpowers do. And in the Cold War, you had both the US and the Soviets doing these kinds of intervention because each one wanted to ensure that they built up alliances that support their ideological perspectives and stance in the world. Now, I think what one can really, I haven't read President Jonathan's book, so I can't comment on it. But it was very clear from news reports that Cambridge Analytica was hired as consultant by actors within that electoral landscape. And Cambridge Analytica has been shown to be a bad faith actor in these elections, not just in the Nigerian situation, but even in the US. So I think they've dismantled that outfit, but there are still various Cambridge Analytica's, you know, clones in the political consultancy systems. So, you know, I think that the reason President Jonathan lost that election cannot just only exclusively be attributed to whatever other actors did. I would hasten to remind people of the level of malfeasance, corruption, and a lack of obvious capacity to even articulate what Nigeria's position in the world in terms of you know, what politics is happening in the world is. There was also a lot of ineptitude, I have to say. And nowadays, kakistocracy has become a word, you know, inept, ignorant, and clueless politicians running affairs. I think, you know, you can say that about that administration. So, you know, that election was his to lose. He lost it. And the performance of the administration, I have to say, was not impressive. So I don't know what people are looking at now that is making them say that this would be, you know, if Jonathan comes back, there will be transformation. What transformation happened? A lot of money was stolen. A lot of it is documented. Desiani Allison was a minister there. The scandal is ongoing. The whole, you know, level of kleptocracy in Nigeria and a lot of really just bad decisions. Nigeria even hired a plane that belonged to one of these, our super rich men of God to go buy weapons from South Africa with Israeli operatives. You know, so look, that was not a well-managed administration. I think the problem with Nigeria is that we have unfortunately managed to put people who are not fit for purpose into office, and they mismanage things. And then, in the aftermath, people will be interpreting things any way that suits them. I think what Nigeria should be concerned about is that we have electoral problems, serious ones, in the system of managing elections. INEC has a leadership crisis. There's judicial integrity erosion. The political landscape seems to be collapsing, okay? Because you have the emergence of almost one party. You also have a public confidence crisis, that people don't trust either INEC or the government to manage, to do their job the way they're supposed to. Vote buying, voter suppression, ballot tampering, and violence. Those were also aspects of that election that President Goodluck Jonathan was talking about, and they remain now.
Okay. All right.
Also religious and regional tensions.
Okay.
And, if you look at what Nigerian the political elite have been doing, they have mismanaged. They have brought this country to the precipice of collapse. And each and every time, they even have the boldness to come back and start rewriting history for the Nigerian people.
All right, Prof. Hopefully we're going to come back to you. Let me bring it to Mr. Omipidon, who is himself a political journalist and actually somebody that has also, operated in the political space. He was the Chief Press Secretary to Governor Yitola. My brother, do you think that where we are today in Nigeria is comparable to where we were in 2015 to even justify, the potential for a significant influence from outside, including from the Americans?
Well, I don't think so. And I want to align myself completely with the position of Professor Okome. In addition to all that she has said, I am one of those who also believe very strongly that even if there was any influence from outside, former President Jonathan made himself vulnerable. And that was why he lost that election. And I will point out a few instances to buttress my argument. One, there was serious crisis within his party, the PDP, and he didn't manage that crisis well. He mismanaged those governors who eventually left the party. And you and I know that if those governors had not defected from the PDP, it probably would have been difficult for the opposition to win that election. Two, he didn't show any sign of seriousness to fight Boko Haram until when we were close to the election. I'm aware that some of its handlers had suggested to him that one of the safest ways of him returning was to ensure that the emergency rule in the Northeast was sustained, where they were renewing the emergency rule after every 6 months. The idea was that there should be no election in the Northeast, and that if there was no election in the Northeast, it would be very easy for him to return to power. And from the way he behaved, I am persuaded to believe that he bought into that theory, because until the crisis between himself and Tambua became very heightened, that the House had to reject the emergency rule, because, the House and Senate must concur.
Right.
The Senate approved it, the House refused, and that was how it collapsed. If you recall, they had to ask for a shift in the election date to clear Boko Haram.
Yeah.
And I want to say with all modesty that the work the army did within those 6 weeks, if they had put in the same effort before that time, we probably would have seen the end of the menace called Boko Haram, because in fairness to them, that 6 weeks, they actually did good clearance. The question to ask is, why did they wait for that 6 weeks. It is also true that former President Obasanjo helped to demarcate former President Jonathan in the international community. And you and I know that the opinion of President Obasanjo is very, very strong within the international community. Yeah. Again, there was understanding that Jonathan was not going to run in 2015. He was the one who breached that understanding. I am also aware, because I was involved, that at the beginning, when Jonathan came in, some of us felt that it would be difficult for him to get a re-election. And because of the tension associated with second term, some of us suggested that perhaps we should go for a single term of 6 years. And I am aware that the leadership of the National Assembly had a discussion with Jonathan one-on-one, and they agreed that that exercise should go on. If you recall, at the beginning, when the National Assembly started the constitutional review exercise, there was proposal for a single term of 6 years. And the idea was for Jonathan to kickstart it. After his tenure would have ended in 2015, he would just have additional 2 years. Some of us believe that that will not create the kind of tension and acrimony like asking him to go for another 4 years. But along the line, some persons felt that David Mark and Ekwemadu were moving for other sinister motive other than trying to protect Jonathan. And that was how Jonathan called off that proposal. Unfortunately, he set up his own constitutional review constitutional conference, where the same issue came up. Unfortunately, by that time, positions had been taken. Nigerians were no longer willing to listen to a single year of 6 terms. So I concur with Professor Okume that beyond the international influence, Jonathan committed a lot of blunders that made him lost that election. Now, talking about where we are today, I do not see the same situation today compared to 2015. It is true, I'm aware that some lobbyists are working seriously to see how they could either effect a regime change or force the current administration to do certain things in their own way. But we watch to see how that plays out.
All right, thank you. Let's take it to Dr. Oyarinu. Dr. Oyarinu, I wanted to ask you that based on everything that we know and that has been said, do you think that the Tinubu administration should be worried about a potential influence, especially coming from President Donald Trump, who had made quite some unprecedented intervention in our affairs lately? Dr. Yarinu?
Thank you so much, sir. I would say if I was President Tinubu, definitely I'll be worried. Because when you look at the posture and position of President Donald Trump in the international space, you can assume that the influence of the United States in our election will not be far-fetched. Because we need to look at the international system currently as it is shaped. That will tell you what is to come in 2027. Currently, we are witnessing an epochal period in the international system where we're experiencing a transition from what used to be to what will eventually be when the international system settles. And things like this happen. When the international system is shaking up, you will have alliances and counter-alliances happen. And coincidentally, Nigeria happens to be a country of interest for great power politics. What do I mean? Nigeria is key when it comes to the AI race between the United States and China because of our rare earth minerals. And President Donald Trump is interested in how China plays its politics within our space, where they seem to have penetrated our system in such a way that they're benefiting a lot, and it is giving them an edge when it comes to the AI race with the United States. That's how Nigeria became a country of interest. Secondly, we need to also consider the issue, of course, which was placed in the media, the killing of Christians. Lobbyist groups are there working behind the scenes. And these lobbyist groups play a major role to help facilitate the interest of the United States towards a particular candidate, as it were. So if I am President Tinubu, what would I be doing? I want to commend the present government for their international relations posture. One of the strongest that we have seen, maybe since after the days of Murtala Mohammed. We've had a strong posture in the international system, which might also be a disadvantage to the present government because pars and bullies like, apologies to use the word, bullies like the current president of the United States do not enjoy countries that stand up to him. So that might also be a concern for the present government because they have actually negotiated our position relatively well in the international space. But where we are now and the interest and position of Nigeria when it comes to strategic influence, it would attract a whole lot of international actors, which will lead us, which will lead them to interfering in our political space. And coincidentally, we would want to determine who rules and who calls the shots from 2027.
All right, thank you so much. Very interesting conversation. I want to take it back to Professor Okome, if you are with me, that what will you say, you are based in the United States and you are also a professor of political science. There are Nigerians involved in trying to get Mr. Trump to play an influential role in our election. What message do you have for them, Professor Okome?
Well, let me first say that I don't think Nigeria is presenting itself in the strongest possible way. You know, when you go pay $90 million to lobbyists to promote an image of not attacking Christians, and there are starving people, the number of multidimensionally poor people in Nigeria is more than 140 million now. You are spending that money with lobbyists in Washington. You've paid half of the money and you are going to pay over time the rest of the money. It is the most puzzling, let me say, because I don't want to use very harsh language, puzzling and confused and also naive thing to do. Now, you've heard from President Trump. I really agree that he has a bullying, demeanor, and it's not just, he's like a bull in a china shop, not just in the US, where democracy is being threatened, and authoritarianism seems to be the comfort zone where this president resides, but also with the Western allies. His performance in Davos shows that he doesn't care about diplomacy. He wants to return to that pre-20th century world where might makes right and, push his weight around. So for Nigeria, he's told you categorically, he has said Nigeria is one of the shithole countries. He has no respect for Nigeria. He said he was going to come guns a-blazing. He bombed the country on Christmas Day. And the president of Nigeria, through his spokespeople, said that Nigeria agreed, Nigeria collaborated. Is that strong? Now, let me also quickly say that the country with these Christians, they say, who are saying that they're being killed in genocidal numbers, and are not conscious that Muslims also have been killed in even larger numbers. This is a very, you want to bring somebody who has shown that he has no scruples about the use of overwhelming force into your country to come and solve problems that you should solve by yourselves. Nigerians are going to regret that. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think that America has Nigeria's primary interests at heart. And then the defense and security of Nigerians should be the primary responsibility of the administration. This administration never said anything about the Christmas Day bombing, the president. Are the people who are in those zones, are they dispensable? If they are dispensable for America, it shouldn't be for Nigeria. So this government is not serious.
Thank you so much, Prof. I'm going to bring it to Mr. Omik, and I want to make your own question a little bit nuanced, but you are free to enlarge it. So part of the buzzes that I'm sure you two have picked in Abuja that is also going in Washington, D.C. now is that, oh, well, look, with this Christian genocide issue, we shouldn't be having, Nigerians should not be talking about Muslim ticket, and that conversation behind the scene is going on. As a matter of fact, on the scene, we have seen pushback, by some APC chieftains, including a federal minister. I wanted to ask you, how do you think the fact that Nigeria has become, has risen in international interest, just like we've had, how do you think that kind of narrative might influence our politics in 2027?
Well, I don't see that narrative influencing our politics because, like I was discussing with a top government official about 3 days ago, as a political reporter, I want to see the current narrative about balancing ticket as a ploy by those who want to unseat Tinubu at all costs to get him out of the way. Because the truth is, if he decides to bring a Christian on that ticket, APC will suffer serious backlash in the north. Now, even if he decides to bring another Muslim on that ticket, the party will still suffer backlash. So for the APC, it's a catch-22 for them. Now, I agree that we do not really need a foreign influence to put things right in our country. Experience have shown clearly that where the U.S. decides to intervene, they have always left that place worse than they met it. Therefore, we must not, by whatever reason, ask them to come and help us do anything. At any rate, the Boko Haram we are talking about started when we had a balancing ticket in this country. Therefore, and there are empirical studies that have been carried out that show very clearly that the ordinary Nigerians do not really care about the fate of their leaders. All they want is good governance. And if we look at the current Muslim ticket, apart from the narrative of a genocide against Christians, I am not sure the government has done anything, including even that allegation, to show that it is discriminatory against the Christian faith. So it therefore goes to show that those doing whatever they are doing it for other motives other than for the interests of this country. Therefore, my appeal to Nigerians is, if for whatever reason we are not satisfied with the current administration, we can come together and make a regime change possible without necessarily, involving any outsiders. Outsiders. Because if, for instance, the government, the APC decides to bow to pressure to rejig its ticket, the Muslim community will say that they are coming after Muslims. And before you know it, another crisis will set in. So we must find a way of managing this situation.
All right. Thank you. We take the final question to Dr. Abimbola Oyarinu. So I'd like you to look at the situation from the point of view of Nigeria's place in global politics. You had made the point, Dr. Oyarinu, that Nigeria is quite attractive now, that even there are issues that maybe the Chinese are getting an advance. They've cornered quite a bit of the solid mirrors and stuff like that, to which the Americans may not be very, very happy. So Nigeria is a target. So what I wanted to ask you is that what do you consider to be the right approach, to resolving this matter, especially on the part of the Nigerian government, because like Mr. Omikuno did say, the way and manner that Jonathan handled the situation, also helped his defeat. Even Professor Okome said that. What can the Nigerian politicians do, both the ruling government and the opposition, to showcase Nigeria's independence compared to taking political advantage? Dr. Yarinu?
Yeah, thank you so much. I would like to state certain rules in international relations, and those rules are constant. One, there's no morality in the international system, which means that nobody cares whether, in the international space, nobody cares whether our president is Muslim or is Christian. What they care about is their interest. That is always constant. Secondly, power is the currency of the international system. So, in all your getting, get power, because
like
that's what the international system is about. So, me to the current government, the opposition, what they can do, how they can position themselves. So we must note in all of this is that first, we must put the flag first. We must respect the flag. We must respect our national interest first before anything. Before we go into any negotiation on both sides, we must put our country first, because the lives of 250 million people relies on the decision we make. And we can tell from what is happening across the international space, Venezuela, and all of that. We can tell that the best we can do is to pursue what works for Nigeria. However, politics is politics everywhere. Everyone is looking to gain power. And America can be a strong ally, because now they are actually looking for alliances to beef up their strength in the international space. And Nigeria, coincidentally, happens to be a strategic ally at this time, not just for Africa now, we're talking globally. So my advice would be that engagement, quality engagement, because one time an American diplomat said that he likes to come to Africa because, and he doesn't like to negotiate with Asians. Why? Because Africans only come for meetings like a fanfare. We go through things, read, jolly drink, and we leave. That should not be the posture now, because whatever we do now will determine how we are going to be placed in the international system in the next 20 years. The international system really goes through a change. We are seeing a change in the international system today and how we position ourselves. And we should not only look to the United States alone. China is a key ally. So whichever ally works for us, both parties, the current government and the opposition, should spread their tentacles way across North America. For example, look at Europe today. European governments, they're actually moving towards China. That's unprecedented in the international system. So that tells us also not to keep our allies close. Open up, see who can give us the best that we need. Because it's so important. People look at Rostow's economic growth theory. Stage 2 of that growth theory says that you need strategic ally, a mentor country, to make you move from stage 2 to stage 3. And we need that ally now more than ever. And whatever we do towards 2027 will determine how things shape up.
All right. Thank you so very much to my distinguished panel, Professor Mujuba Olu Okome, Mr. Ismail Omikwidon, and Dr. Abimbola Oyarinu. Thank you for coming to Inside Sources. Right. Thank you so much. That's the segment. I'm going to be coming to a second segment, which is a continuation of a conversation on the dynamic of the northern states in Nigeria's politics. Don't go away. Welcome back to this segment. You remember that we had this conversation on Friday and we didn't finish it. So we are continuing the conversation of it. We're going to conclude it now. My guest is still Malam Baba Yusuf, a strategist, policy advisor, public intellectual, and the group CEO of Global Investment and Trading Company who hails from Kano. I'd like to welcome you back to Inside Sources.
Thank you for having me again.
All right.
Prof.
So I wanted us to now go into some political gladiators and the way they use the power of the North.
Yes.
Let's be very clear, Malam. As Nigeria is constituted today, we have 36 states.
Yes. And FCT.
And FCT. But the North has 19 of those states.
That's correct.
So people even see that, oh yeah, the North has an advantage. There are even those, who will argue that, well, the North is even like, the Security Council, with a veto power, just because of the sheer number, which was also reflected in the state. Some people think that it's not even fair. Or why can't we even have equal? My point is that the perception is there that the North has an upper advantage. But like we said on Friday, this is not reflected in the lives of the people. If you look at education, if you look at health, the basic things, it doesn't show.
Yeah.
So I now said that let's now go and look at how the politicians behave. Look at what has just happened in Kano now. You have Governor Abba Yusuf, he has separated ways with his godfather, Dr. Rabiu Kwakwanso. Nobody knows what Rabiu Kwakwanso wants to do. Is he going to take the offer from APC? Some people said that, he's saying that, look, write it down, I must be vice president. As a matter of fact, his party said that I must be vice president, at least, to go to any party. The president himself is very particular about the North. He has, you can see that they are interested in Kano. They wanted to have Kano.
That's correct.
And the president compelled, I want you to follow, madam. The president compelled Ganduje and the other leaders in APC Kano to take in Abba Yusuf and make him the leader
in the state,
just like he did in Plateau State. Those guys didn't want it.
Yes.
So the president is also very keen. So the question for you, and you can take it whichever way you want to go, is that does this manner of politics, what does it reflect for the ordinary people of the North at the end of the day? Because those are the people who bring out the numbers for these politicians to win elections.
Well, to be honest with you, there is nothing for the masses. Whether it is in northern Nigeria, Kano, or in southern Nigeria, it's all about winning elections, holding on to power. And unfortunately, the leaders from the North always play the game for their own vested interest. And I say this with profound sense of responsibility, as a child of the North, as a son of Kano, and as a Nigerian. This recent political calculus in Kano is very interesting. And I dare say it is highly likely that a political reset is about to happen or will soon happen in Nigeria. Because the politicians have been playing this same game, that the game has become stale. They have outplayed and amadoned themselves that there is no game again to play. The same thing with godfatherism. The cycle of godfatherism has come to a head now. By 2027, you will see some cautiousness with regards to who will succeed, be or odd, because we have gone full cycle. Kano is a classic example. Rivers is a classic example. With two different outcomes as it is today. Let's talk about Kano. And that is where the game may change. Kano people are highly politically aware and politically sensitive people, including the ones on the street who consistently is being cheated, because the next conversation, how do they allow themselves to be used all the time? However, it is that identity politics, like I have written in one of my episodes of my column, that identity politics, I know, is a global phenomenon. But in this case, Nigerians politicians have mastered that act of utilizing it, right? But what has happened is that consciousness of the people, in the case of Kano, everybody amongst the warring faction have sold the other one to the people, to the high heavens. This is your Messiah. This is your Messiah. This has cheated you. This has cheated you. And you have come to raise your hands and say, we are together. So it's game over to a certain extent. Now, what has happened now is very interesting. I hear Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is crying out about betrayal and all that. We have forgotten that.
He said that the day the governor left is called Betrayal Day.
Yes. However, subterfuge, betrayal, and intrigues are part of politics. I remember when late Senator Hamis Musa and late Alhaji Musa Gwadebi of blessed memory were bitterly complaining about the treatment that Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso meted on them as his political, benefactors, in the first dispensation of 1999 to 2003. Because these were the people that actually, in the PDP, promoted him within the power blocks of the PDP. And that is the fact. I'm heading somewhere. Stay with me. Now, as far back as 1992, or 1991, sorry, Kano people started changing their style of voting pattern in Nigeria. And we brought this stanza in 1999-2003 of Shinkafa Dawaki politics, and that is the politics of rice and beans. And where you see a governor in the state is in one party, and Buhari will be leading in his own polls, even though he may not get the election. But an ANPP governor will be there, but at the top, the president will lose the election. Or sometimes, even if it is a PDP governor that is there, at the presidential, it is Buhari that is winning the election. So what happens is people will say, okay, we'll vote this person as a governor, but we'll vote another person as a president. It played out in 2023. NNPP won in Kano as governor and won in sorry, it didn't play out, but it played out in 2007 when Shekarau was returning as governor of Kano State.
And defeated
Kwankwaso. No, sorry, 2003, sorry, not 2007. You see, in 1993, a similar scenario, quasi-similar scenario happened in 1991, when NRC and SDP were the parties to beat gubernatorial election. And SDP had Engineer Magaji Abdullahi, who is a student of Malam Aminu Kano Tabo faction of the PRP back in the days, right? Was the flag bearer
for NRC,
for SDP.
For SDP.
Initially, SDP was looking like the party to beat, like APC today. NRC, I'm talking about Kano now, had Kabir there as the flag bearer. But what happened in because SDP had a lot of the Malam Aminu Kano students and proteges of both factions, Sansi of Rimi and Tabo of Malam Aminu Kano.
They were in the SDP,
because you had Abubakar Rimi, you had the likes of Hamis Musa that I mentioned, Senator Hamis Musa, and others. So both Sansi and Tabo, a lot of them were in SDP.
Yeah, they lost.
That is where I'm heading to. Now, because of the way it worked, and they gave Engineer the ticket, the Sansi faction of the SDP felt aggrieved. But guess what they did? They kept quiet. They kept quiet. When it came to the election, they did a protest vote and they gave their vote to Kabir Gaya. And Kabir Gaya emerged as governor. This is the kind of consciousness of politics in Kano. Let's wait and see the Congress. Kano is a different conversation. The fact that Mr. President intervened is true. The fact that the power of incumbency will play a role is true. But as you come down the political structure, the disposition and the consciousness is not the same. The cunningness of the politicians in Kano, including those ones that Mr. President has marshaled, is different. They will go in the night and say, do this. Shebi is the president. I want to hold on to what he's giving me, but when the die is cast and it's too late, everybody will answer his name. So what will happen is, now it's like that, but the problem that will Engineer Abba Kabir will start having is during congresses. Because that is the yes, Engineer Abba Kabir, His Excellency, because that is when you start setting up the political structure.
Yeah.
Even though they may like to donate or rent, if you like, their structure for Abba Kabir in the interest of APC to win the elections, they are looking beyond President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration with profound respect to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. None of these political gladiators is ready to be a bomboy politician for the next 5-6 years. So they are looking ahead after 2027, what happens?
What happens?
If Abba Kabir gets the structure of Kano by 2027, what happens to me post-Tinubu, post-Abba Kabir? So these political titans, Barau Jibril, DSP, that is the president, you have the main man himself, Excellency, Ganduje, and other power players. Don't forget, APC was already hot with crisis in Kano before the entrance of Abba Kabir.
Yeah.
And those fights are not going to go away just because the president said so. They are deeply entrenched issues. Now, currently, the vibes from the street are there's some kind of sympathy for Konkoso by the Talakawas. Now, to answer that question you mentioned, Konkoso has been able to borrow a template from his political, mentor, Malam Aminu Kano, and he has been playing the sentiments of Talakawas, and he has been able to hold that consistently. And that is why he stood a little bit different, right? Now, the departure of Abba Kabir, as far as concerned, is part of political dynamics. And that I said they are going to outwit themselves. If you are a political godfather and you become overbearing, you push somebody this far, he will go away. Interestingly, Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf is a son-in-law of Senator Konkoso. In politics and power, there is nothing like father or son. Of course. It's all about the power.
I mean, look at what is happening to the two
emirs. Of course.
They have
absolutely.
Marriage
and we have
relationship.
Seen, exactly. We've seen where, a son of a sultan, a prince, will kill his father to take the throne. This is power. But what is happening now in Kano is people are beginning to see that, okay, you want to come and basically take it by force from us. That is for the Konkosia adherents or sympathizers. And the word on the street is we are hungry, things are not okay, what is going on? I'm talking about the electorate now.
Yeah.
Now, that which happened when Konkoso was governor in 2003, with the power of incumbency of a man like President Olusegun Obasanjo, could not rig that election and get a different outcome in Kano.
Because the people were
and
very
that clear. Is a notation for the APC to take care of it. Take care of the people, not politicians, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Okay, very, very, very good point. I wanted to ask you a very direct question about the dimension of this Kwakwanso issue. The people of Kano, what good can they point to that Kwakwanso represents for them in the context of everything that we're talking about, Malam? Can we say that Kwakwanso, when he was governor, or the reach and the control that he has, is it because it transformed the people of the lives of the people in Kano?
On a scale, it's choosing the lesser evil. A precarious situation of a Nigerian, whether in Umuahia or Kano or Akure. That's the situation. Like I said, he played to the sentiment of the poor people. Perception sometimes can become reality, Prof. A lot of these people he is sponsoring on scholarship and all those kind of engagements he's having with them gives them the impression that he is at least better than others. Empirical numbers, in terms of empirical numbers of impacts, it's neither here nor there.
Interesting.
It's a function of same wine, or let me say, since it's Sharia state, same juice, different bottles.
Okay, all right. Because of our time, and I want us to conclude. So when you look at the security situation in the country, again, the worst expressions are in the north.
Yes.
You know, why do you think, and this is our last question because of our time, why do you think it has been difficult for the northern elite to come together and say, look, let's end this insecurity? What you have is instances in Katsina where the governor, Malam, is actively engaging in paying bandits. We have situations in Katsina where bandits kill the policeman and actually wore his uniform yes. to a public outing.
Yes, not outing, a mediation meeting.
You know, so what in your own view as we conclude is the way out, especially because of the insecurity that is worse clearly in the north?
To be honest, that is one of the critical failure factors in the north. We have this impression that the north is united. To be honest with you, it's a mirage. The north is not united. If it was before, it is no longer so. And the people that are demonstrating that are the governors, with utmost respect to them. This issue of insecurity, even though they sit down and have the meetings across party lines, you see every governor doing his own thing. Even most times at cross purposes with the strategy of the federal government. Negotiating with bandits, for example, is not in sync with what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been saying in the last 1 year, last month or 2 months.
Right.
Aftermath of what President Donald Trump has said.
Yeah.
Different from what other leaders are saying within the value chain. So what happens is, if Governor A has a sound strategy, has a sound mindset to address, I'm Governor B, says, I want to engage the bandits and deal with it. I have never seen where engagement with bandits and giving them reprieve solve your security situation, because there is the hardware issue of security itself, and there is the non-kinetic issue of bad governance. So the issue is that North is not united in, first of all, agreeing that we are our problem, not a particular president at the center.
Right.
Secondly, this issue of mortgaging our destiny to the hands of politicians, whoever they are, what party they belong to, and abdicating our responsibility. Thirdly, this lack of unanimity of purpose of the leaders themselves from the north, whether they are at federal government, whether they are at state level.
Thank you so much for your insight, Madam Baba Yusuf, and thank you for the frankness and the forthrightness with which you address these issues. And thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
I appreciate the opportunity.
All right.
As you always say, Nigeria should prevail.
Nigeria will prevail. Thank you so much. And thank you for watching. Like we always say, Nigeria will prevail. It means that Nigeria will win because we will keep at the major and important issues. My name is Laura Akonde. Thank you for watching. And by the grace of God, I'll see you at the next edition.